What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Dodger Wheelhouse. Okay. Welcome back to the Dodger Wheelhouse podcast.
Hype. Screw the intro. It's all hype. The Los Angeles Dodgers are your 2020 World Series champions. This is the Dodger Wheelhouse podcast. I'm your host, Alistair McMillan, joined by my co-host, Harry Lebowski.
I feel so bamboozled right now. I'm going to be honest. Literally right before recording, Mac was like, Harry, you haven't done an intro yet. You should do the intro. And I'm like, thanks, man. Sure.
Yeah.
And I was ready to jump into it, only to be finessed by the hype trolley.
The hype trolley is in full effect. It has barreled past the station. It is going. There are no rails. It is rolling off into infinity. I could not be happier. This is something I didn't really expect to be seeing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's an understatement.
After back-to-back heartbreak, I was not expecting it. I'm going to be honest. I really wasn't.
Especially after how Game 4 ended, I was kind of like, I want to look positive here because obviously the Dodgers are my team, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, all right, you got to be ready for depression again. And just October depression. And it was, oh my God, the hype when
Game 4, right? I want to say we mentioned this, but it was one of those things really where they win. Oh man, it's like the funniest thing in the world. If they lose, it's like the most painful memory, like deep in the depths of your heart. Just, oh God, we'd never hear the end of it. Can you imagine how often that clip would be played? So we play, I lurk other teams' subreddits on Reddit, just, because it's funny to me, right? So on the Oakland A's subreddit, they were talking about how they see the Kurt Gibson home run incessantly, right? Like they can never see the end of it. Can you imagine if every time the Rays were playing, they were like, now let's look back at, Will Smith's pass ball. And it's 2 errors and the Rays end up winning the World Series. Oh God, I'd lose my mind. I would lose my mind if every time I turned on to see the Rays play the Yankees, I had to see a Rosarena smacking the base, smacking home plate.
It was.
He tumbled, like literally, he tumbled.
That entire play was like I think just calling that play shenanigans is like accurate.
I suppose we should pull it up if we're gonna just start talking about that. I wanted to talk World Series, but this clip is kind of still on my mind. Let's pull that up. Man, it's just painful. It's just obviously it's good now, but in the moment. So you got that? You got it up, Harry?
Yeah, let's run the clip.
Let's run it. Oh man. Ooh, I'm Brent Phillips. I'm gonna go into cardiac arrest. He actually did. For those of you who aren't necessarily aware, he was so excited after this play that he went into cardiac shock. Like he didn't have a heart attack, but they had to monitor him for breathing and whatnot. They thought he was having a heart attack. Man, this is like a postseason hero, like a guy who's not very good. Right, at a major league level, of course.
Right.
Who just has this ridiculous, come to Jesus moment. Then, he hadn't had a hit the entire postseason, right? He wasn't this particularly good player. Then out of nowhere, boom, I'm Brent Phillips, and I'm going to ruin the Dodgers' chances. The Dodgers really should have won the series 4-1, maybe even a sweep, because Game 2 was close, right? Game 2.
I would have. Game 2 was a bullpen game. I would have probably predicted that knowing it's a bullpen game, I would have also given it to the Rays because their bullpen is fantastic.
Yeah, but it's their offense is terrible. The fact of the matter is the Dodgers scored, I think, like 7 runs in that game. It's just the Rays happened to actually score runs for one game. That's the Brandon Lau game, remember? Because Brandon Lau, 3 hits in the World Series, all 3 of them being home runs, 2 of which coming in that game. Like without that game, right? Without Brandon Lau being good for a game. Right, Dodgers, are up 3-0, and I don't think this happens if they're up 3-0, right? I don't think we see Kenley. So honestly, I'm not going to sound like some salty Dodger fan. I'm as far from salty as I could possibly be. But what I'm saying is, this team is definitely better than they looked. I mean, obviously the Rays only won 2 games, and those 2 games being a bullpen game, and then this disaster we have in front of us. But the Dodgers were dominant. Right. And I think after they got past the Braves, and I really hope what Alex Wood said wasn't true. about, it obviously doesn't matter, but Alex Wood was saying this team has been to so many postseason games they were bored, and that's when they were down like 3-1. Then they like
I was hoping it wasn't true either, because like ultimately, like I don't think there's anything boring about watching postseason
I
baseball.
should hope that's like a clubhouse disaster. I don't think it's
Yeah.
true. I don't.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think he was kind of trying to I don't know,
Put
potentially
some
make light of a
fire.
situation, or like put
Yeah.
some fire under the butts of some guys on the team. But just looking back on this moment, I can kind of take a breath and like release just like a bunch of stress, because when I saw that, I was thinking after we recorded that episode, I was thinking, oh gosh, we're gonna lose the World Series again.
I was mad for like 48 hours. Like
I was
because
so
3-2 leads
stressed.
don't feel safe anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't.
And then there was a stat that I don't know. I think the pregame show for before the World Series pulled up in Game 6. It was like 5 out of 6 teams that are like that have won Game 6 went on to win the World Series.
I saw that.
And I was like, or 5 out of 6 teams in the past however many World Series or whatever. And I was just like, that's a ridiculous stat. That's
Momentum.
just,
I mean,
yeah.
now honestly, I didn't think the Dodgers were losing if it went to 7. Now, obviously, we predicted it in 7, but the thing is, Walker Buehler, playoff Buehler was. You know what? Let's pull up playoff Buehler, because playoff Buehler was absolutely nuts. Oh man, 2 wins, 5 games, ERA of sub 2, nuts, right? 39 strikeouts in 25 innings, with just above 1. WHIP being walks and hits per innings pitched. So what that means is every base runner he had that isn't getting on by an error is covered under WHIP. So if your WHIP is, say, under 1, it means that for every inning you pitch, you're letting on less than 1 base runner, which is obviously obscene. Having one under 2 is pretty good. It's pretty good. And this is just above 1. We're talking 1.2. So that's great.
I mean, he's just Walker Buehler has been fantastic in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
The only like mishap he's had in the postseason as of now was against the, I want to say, Braves. He had a bad start.
No. So he lost a duel with Fried, which wasn't bad. He does have a bad postseason start in his rookie year. But holding that against him is a bit weird. Now, I hate to say this because, I mean, I'm so happy for Kershaw, and I hate the playoff Kershaw narrative, but Buehler is like shaping up to be the anti-Kershaw. And again, I don't like this narrative. But if you're going by the stupid narrative, then Walker Buehler is the anti-Kershaw, because this dude is amazing in the postseason.
100%. He is absolutely dominant. He will shut down anyone, and he's proven that time and time again.
Yeah.
I do want to say, just to kind of put the Kershaw rumor to rest a little bit, Kershaw kind of like pitched in spite of his doubters. He had fantastic postseason. He had a great postseason.
Let's pull it up. We've got that up right here, right? Clayton Kershaw postseason stats. I mean, we're talking, 4 wins, 1 loss. Not bad, right? ERA 2.9, right? That's fine. That's pretty good. Then a WHIP of 0.91. Now that's the number I want to talk about, because Kershaw gives up like solo home runs. He does, right? It happens, but generally speaking, he's keeping dudes off base. That's what's really important, because of course, like, you can't really do anything to stop home runs from being hit if you're a pitcher. Sometimes you just like miss a spot. Sometimes a guy just beats you to a spot, and sometimes you hang an off-speed pitch, right? But not letting runners on base is a very big part of why Kershaw has been really good this postseason, because ultimately, like, if he does give up those solo shots, I mean, I think, didn't he have back-to-back solo shots in the Braves series? Am I remembering that correctly? Yeah, that rings a bell. Yeah.
So back-to-back solo shots.
I'll pull that up. Just back-to-back to make sure we got it right.
Or I'm thinking of a completely different series, but like, ultimately what's important is, in spite of that happening, he has still been dominant enough to throw into the strike zone. He's still been competent enough to hit spots in the zone and just be Kershaw. And then, I mean, I really hate the Kershaw bad in playoff narrative.
Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous. I mean, Yeah, I will say, just you know what, I'm gonna throw a little bit more fire. Technically speaking, Kershaw was bad this postseason by 2020 Kershaw standards. Because if you look at his stats this year, they were otherworldly. I mean, obviously, 60 game season, all that, I don't care,
Mhm.
right? ERA of 2.16, 62 strikeouts in 58 innings, whip of 0.84. That's nuts. It's like, oh yeah,
0.84.
yeah. Every inning, I'm letting on 8/10 of a runner. I'd love to see you score some runs here. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
it's nuts. It's nuts. Postseason Kershaw is he was just. I think next year we're going to see him even better. Monkey off the back entirely,
Mhm.
right? No more demons. He looked so happy in that Jimmy Kimmel interview. Hilarious, by the way. You should
Yeah.
watch it.
Really funny.
Yeah.
I really just liked. I like Kershaw a lot. He's my like. Who doesn't like Kershaw on the Dodgers? I mean, honestly, I mean, it's
I
really
don't know.
yeah. It's
Maybe
just
that number 6 starter rookie who's just waiting for dude to retire so he can.
it's like,
Maybe
all right, you've
there's some
had
secret animosity with Bueller. Like, Bueller's been answering all these great interview questions, like, "Hey, Walker Bueller, you're the ace," and Bueller's like, "No, Clayton's still our ace." Maybe Bueller in the back of his mind seething. He's like, "Oh man, Kershaw, I'm gonna get him. Oh, I'm gonna get him.
I'm gonna get him.
I'm gonna destroy his. I'm gonna be the best Dodger pitcher." Now, hey, if Walker Bueller has some secret animosity to Clayton Kershaw, and he's stewing, thinking that he's gonna go down as the best Dodger pitcher ever. He's gonna beat Clayton's narrative. Oh my God, please, because that just means that we get another Clayton Kershaw. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it.
I'm happy just to see stars like appear in LA, be it through being traded for like Mookie Betts or just like being drafted by the Dodgers like Walker Bueller, and then just like or Dustin May working his way up the farm system and just being a stud.
Mm,
And then also I just Julio Urias looked very good in this
very
playoffs. He
good. Can
was
we talk absolutely dominant? I mean, he was throwing like 93 right down the middle of the plate
mhm.
just to screw with Wiley Adames. Now, Adames hadn't hit anything ever. No, maybe
that
Willie, not
that
even important.
last at bat
Mm-hmm.
of the playoffs, literally the last out before the Dodgers won the World Series, he threw 3 strikes right down the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a clip of that which we will pull up for you. But three right
Let's
down the
run that
middle.
right now.
Yeah,
Let's
so
run
we'll
that
run that
right
right
now.
now.
Just like Urias' dominance, and then let's talk about his stats a little bit while this runs. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he was crazy. We're talking 4 games. Well, sorry, 6 games, 4 wins, right?
Mhm.
ERA of 1.17, insane,
Mhm.
right? 23 innings pitched, 29 strikeouts, whip of 0.65. It's insane.
Point.
That's
That's
insane.
ridiculous.
That's
That
insane.
is
That's not fair.
ludicrous.
That's not fair. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna draft this kid out of Mexico. It's like we found this kid. He's got an okay arm, a bad eye. We'll figure it out. And then boom, he's like this ridiculous postseason monster,
Mhm.
right?
And there was a postseason interview, or there was a post game interview with Julio Urias,
Mm-hmm.
and they talked to him about kind of his relationship to Victor Gonzalez and what this meant for him.
Oh, that was
And
beautiful.
it
Yeah,
was
watching
super
them
heartwarming.
embrace
And
Victor
yeah,
because Gonzalez was gonna quit.
yeah.
He
And
wanted to quit.
Urias kind of kept him on, in like he literally said, I mean, my Spanish translation is really bad, so I'd have to watch that
Oh
interview
no.
again. But he said like he called him his brother, and it was
Mm-hmm.
super just heartwarming. And I was like, oh man, like that's what I love. Just like just the ability for not Urias to be like, not only for him to be dominant on the baseball field, for him to be a guy in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Obviously there for Victor Gonzalez. I mean, clearly he's shown that. I mean, he belongs on the Dodgers in the postseason, and that wasn't even in the question for the most part.
He and
But like,
Kershaw
he's
had a nice
just
moment too.
yeah. And
Then
there's like the dog
everyone's just
pile on
happy for
Urias.
Kershaw,
Yeah.
though. Everyone's just happy for
Mhm.
Kershaw. Because how could you not be? I mean, especially like, the narrative really shifts,
Uh-huh.
right? When you learn about 2017 Game 5, right? That, and again, if you haven't seen it, Kershaw was amazing. Astros were cheating. Astros, bent Kershaw over a barrel because, they knew what was coming. And then Kershaw's, postseason narrative takes a big hit. well, it was already bad, but it got really bad. They called
Yeah.
him a choker, yada yada yada. Then it comes out this year that it was all in fact BS, and then it's like, okay, well now what, right? Kershaw narrative's in a weird position. Then you get him in the postseason this year, he kills it, then boom. And when you have guys like Austin Barnes, who Barnes is Kershaw's battery mate, right? He's the only guy who catches Kershaw. They have a little connection right now, and then you have Barnes getting the hit to start pulling Snell. Now we got to talk about this Snell decision.
That was
we have to talk about this. It is the hottest button topic I remember in the MLB for a while, right? Now, obviously, you have the Astros scandal, you have coronavirus, whatever. This is like a game situation. Like usually when you're having like Sports Center pick up an MLB discussion, it's like, oh, Mookie Betts traded to the Dodgers, the Red Sox, haha, they're stupid, or some take right by Colin Coward or whatever. I don't care. Right, it's really rare you see Sports Center talking about like actual game clips. So then you had the Game 4 walk off, right? That was a big clip, but this is huge.
Yeah,
I think this is way bigger, and this is massive because Snell. So pulling Snell here, it's interesting, right? And I don't hate it. And, and I'm a Dodger fan, right? But if I'm Kevin Cash, I think I'm pulling Snell. And obviously, a lot of that is, analytics. And, I will preface, I do like the hot hand theory, right? Riding the hot hand is fine.
Yeah.
The reason I pull Snell is not that I don't think Snell is doing well, but it's that I can't trust Snell to not give up one run. Right. It's that literally the Rays had put up one run.
Like it's not just one.
Yeah, if I'm up 2-0, 3-0, I'm leaving Snell. Even 2-0, I'm leaving Snell, right? Because then I give him, okay, I'll leave you in until you give up one run. And then that's it. But the Rays put up one run. Like their only run was a solo home run in the first inning. Like when you're realizing, if you're Kevin Cash, you're thinking, okay, well, my offense is doing literally nothing, right? Outside of this one Cuban dude with some cowboy boots on. Like, what are you supposed to do? Now, of course, right? Everyone now is looking with hindsight and saying pulling Snell was stupid. And I will say putting Anderson in for Snell was unquestionably stupid. But if you're just saying, hey, we're going to put in insert Rays reliever who's absurdly good for the price tag, and he's gonna get Mookie out, Seager out. I want to say there's already one out, so just Mookie, Seager, end it, right? Strand Barnes at first. It's a whole different ballgame, right? And then if Mookie still gets his solo home run in the 8th, okay, fine, tie game, extra innings, cool, right? But when you're Kevin Cash and you're looking at a Rays offense which isn't doing anything, right? You have so it's a Rosarena, right? Kiermaier had been okay. Not incredible. He'd been okay. Brandon Lau had been garbage outside of if he makes a contact with the ball. Apparently, it's a home run. But generally speaking, he hadn't been very good. So now you're sitting here saying, okay, I cannot trust my offense to score any more runs for the rest of this game. So I'm sitting here. I'm Kevin Cash. I'm thinking, okay, I have to pull Snell because he's facing the top of the lineup for the 3rd time. As we know, the 3rd time through the order, you're more likely to give up hits. Right? You already have a man on first. So one hit is key.
Right. Just to clarify here, when guys are talking about analytics, when people are talking about analytics, they're talking about like the stats that are relevant to the stats that the kind of just blanket stats overall in terms of baseball. Like, for example, when a pitcher faces the order for the 3rd time in a row, they are more likely to give up hits because the players have seen the pitcher a couple times. They know what to expect.
Yeah, you're used to him. You've seen his stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the first inning of that game, Mookie had been on the ball. Like, obviously, he was down on 3 pitches, but it's not like he was missing by much. It's, it was the margin of error there is key. Right? Like if Mookie's even like a millimeter closer in the first inning, he's got a home run. So if I'm looking at that and I'm Cash, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, Mookie Betts, he's been close, right? He hasn't been there, but he's been close. I'm a little worried, right? We've put up one run, and again, they would end up to have put up no more runs. So they did only score one run. Right. This is a Dodgers offense that had never been shut out the entire season. Right? So now you're sitting around thinking, okay, so the Dodgers have always put up at least one run. We have one run.
I can do very simple math here and
It doesn't
determine
look
that
good.
one run
It doesn't look
is
good.
not nearly enough.
Yeah, when you're sitting around, in the dugout, right, in between innings, and you're thinking, okay, if Snell gets through this inning and clean, that's one thing, right? But when Austin Barnes gets a hit and now you have a man on first, now a solo shot, what would have been a solo shot, right, is now the go-ahead run, right, for an offense which is quite comfortable putting up between 1 and 3 runs and not doing anything else.
Right.
And I want to say against the Astros, they most of their games they won were just like, 4-2, 3-0. Like it's
Right.
not like they're putting up these
There
crazy
aren't
numbers.
there isn't any offensive showing coming from the Rays, and that's because the Rays really thrive on their pitcher, on their arms, and they put up 2 or 3 runs, and that's enough, right? But the thing about the Dodgers here that in your point, pulling Snell in this situation, the reason Kevin Cash probably did it is because the Dodgers do have that offense where anyone can swing the bat and the game is tied. That's probably why he pulled them, because the guys have been like, sure, there were some really nice clips of Snell just making guys miss by a whole 6 feet, right? Or whatever, right? But then there's some guys that are like right on it and they're right there. And if Snell makes a mistake, it's a tie game.
I want to say Chris Taylor also had a hit before. And remember, actually, yeah, so Chris Taylor had a hit, and then who came up after Taylor? Doesn't matter. I think it was AJ Pollock. It must have been AJ Pollock. So Taylor got a single,
and Belly Taylor
ripped
Pollock
one down the line, which was gotten by the third baseman. Which great play.
Yeah,
great play. But if that goes any differently, now we have a whole different narrative. Now we're sitting around saying, okay, so Blake Snell gave up 1 run. Now it's a 1-1 game, and then you have a man on first, and then Mookie Betts is coming up, and now everyone's like, pull up, right? Just the fact that one catch goes differently. Now we're sitting around thinking, okay, cool. Now it's narrative shift quickly. So I'm not gonna be rude to Cash and say, worst managerial decision ever. No, pulling Snell is not the worst man. Putting in Anderson is it.
Anderson had not been playing well.
He had a terrible postseason. Exactly. In fact, I'm just going to pull this up right now.
Yeah. Anderson had not been playing well against, while you pull it up, Anderson had not been playing well against the Dodgers. The Dodgers had been hitting off of him like batting practice.
So keep in mind, Nick Anderson is the best reliever in baseball for the past 2 years. Just like, period. Right? 2020, his ERA was 0.55. That's pretty good. Right? 2019... ERA 1.5. He'd just been good, right?
Yep.
He had been. Oh no, sorry, that's his postseason ERA. Sorry, regular season ERA 2019. He put up. Let's see, 0.55 in 2020, 2.1 in 2019. If I remember correctly, that's the Rays had fixed him up though. I want to say he had been really good for the end of the year. Anyway, point being, though, his postseason ERA was 5.52, and he had given up a run in most of his appearances. I want to say, I saw a stat that go around 7 of 9, right? Oof. And like 4 of his last 4 or 5 of his last 5. He'd been bad, right? As a reliever. As a starter, that's like, okay, cool, whatever. But as a reliever, you're going in for 1 or 2 innings. You're giving up 1 or 2 runs? No. Sit on the bench. Ride the pine. I don't like that at all. The Anderson move is horrible. And no, obviously, right, you have a guy who had been good, and you're looking around saying, okay, we're going to throw Anderson and then win? Cool. Okay, so maybe that works out. Or you say, this guy's been really cold. He clearly has something going on in his head, right? He's a little shook. Put in anyone else. Literally anyone else, right? Anderson's a fastball primary dude, right? He wants high heat. Mookie thrives on high heat, right? Anderson's a righty. Mookie kills righties, but terrible. Absolutely atrocious.
Most of the Dodgers can catch up to high heat. There are a few Dodgers, like specifically Austin Barnes, who kind of will foul pitches off until you either
poke one.
hang a
Barnes will poke one. He can poke one.
He doesn't. Yeah, there were, I forget what I was watching. I've watched a lot of clips about Dodgers hitters after the World Series and a lot of statistical stuff and actually hitting stuff. Austin Barnes kind of thrives on either an off-speed pitch that's hung and he kind of pokes it, or he's quick with his hands and he kind of just takes it the other way, right? So he's not really one that's going to sit on it and pull a 99-mile-an-hour fastball, right? He's kind of just going to take it where it was pitched.
Yeah,
which is which is good hitting period. But like, I mean, that's kind of Barnes's role on the team, right? He got the single that prompted Cash. Do you think? Okay, question. Do you think if Barnes strikes out or Barnes grounds out or Barnes doesn't get him on base, do you think Cash takes out? Snell?
I'm going with no because okay, so the difference between obviously one man on, one out, and no man on, two outs is huge. But most importantly, like, okay, if I'm Cash and Barnes is out, Mookie Betts coming out with 2 outs. Let him pitch to Mookie. Worst case scenario, Mookie gets a hit, I pull him, right? Mm-hmm. Or Mookie hits a solo shot, I pull him. Or he gets Mookie out and I pull him. So
you don't see him pitching past the 6th.
No, regardless. I don't at all. So the issue everyone has, right, is like pulling him mid-inning, right, with 1 out. But so my issue, right, with this whole narrative is, I don't want Snell going further from Anderson. Like at some point, he had already lost multiple miles per hour on his fastball. His velocity was dropping. At some point, it's just dangerous. Now, his control is elite. He's a former Cy Young winner. Snell is great, right? But at some point, I'm going to my bullpen, and that's what you want to do, right? So I think if he gets Barnes out, if Barnes doesn't eke out that single, cool. Now, Mookie comes up. Worst case scenario, Mookie ties the game. It's a whole different ballgame, etc. Pull him, get Seager. Cool. Seager ended up, it was a fielder's choice, right?
Yeah.
I mean, really, if there isn't that wild pitch or maybe pass ball. I don't remember how it was ruled. I want to say wild pitch. Anderson's wild pitch scored Barnes. But if that doesn't happen and Seager grounds out, they get Barnes at the plate, right? Barnes is not
Barnes
is not when it comes to speed.
is not going on contact. With
like Mookie is fast, like fast, right? So
like freaky fast.
Yeah, it's a combination of jumps and just speed in general, right? Elite speed. So when Mookie, when Barnes scores, Mookie moves over to the third. Now Seager, obviously he probably takes a different approach if Barnes is up. But let's just pretend the same thing happens and he grounds out to the right side. Now you have probably Mookie on third, Seager on first, 2 outs. Okay. And at that point, I want to say Edwin Rios was in for Turner.
Oh, yeah. It'd be Rios at that point.
Well, when did Turner get pulled? I don't think it was the 6th. Did he? That was weird. That whole situation with Justin Turner and coronavirus is strange.
Yeah.
And, I've actually seen people saying that, like, the Dodgers, like, knew about it beforehand. It's rigged. And this is the most ridiculous narrative. Because, I mean, for one, the whole infrastructure with the testing, right? Is you get the rapid tests are inconclusive. You send it out to Utah. They flag it as, important. So then, you go through to Utah. Utah, like, checks it, says, yo, this guy has coronavirus. They pull him immediately. Now, admittedly, I think letting him play with an inconclusive test is, like, risky. But at the same time, keeping him out, the whole situation's weird. If I'm MLB, I just say you can't play him. Period.
I would agree with that as well.
Now, you have the issue of, not to get it all the way into coronavirus, but if it's like, okay, so we have a guy who tests positive for coronavirus. He's been around his teammates. Do we quarantine the team? Do we even let them play the World Series? Right? Do we postpone Game 6? That's weird. I think they're rooting for the Dodgers heavily there. Because if Turner tests positive, right, and the Rays win Game 6, like, when does Game 7 happen?
Just to quickly interject here, Turner was still in the 6th. He did not get pulled until probably the 7th.
Yeah, it was around then. Because I know that he was out by the 8th because Bellinger had specifically talked about that.
Yes.
Seeing Edwin Rios is weird. I was like, because we didn't know about coronavirus. So I was thinking, okay, I guess they really want a power bat, because he's not defensively better than Turner.
Mm-hmm.
I think you might have more potential just being younger and Turner's kind of hurt. But
right. But Rios' bat is really an asset to add to the lineup, especially in a situation like that.
Now, less so. In the future. So I'll run his stats right now just so we can see, right? Because the thing is, right now, he's okay, right? In the future, his upside is crazy. He has legit power to all sides of the field, right? Postseason, 2 hits, 2 home runs, 14 at-bats, not great, right? Granted, 2 bombs, but generally speaking, not amazing. But 2020 hit 250, right? 8 home runs. I like it, right? I like his upside.
Yeah.
So when I'm sitting here putting in, I wouldn't put in Edwin Rios because you're expecting an out, right? But let's go back though to the Snell decision because that is
okay.
That's key, right?
Ultimately, that's a big thing to talk about.
Yeah. So I think a big part of the narrative too, right, is if you're Cash, okay, and you're pulling Snell, you're kind of saying that you don't think your offense can score one more run. Is really what I'm hearing, right? Because if I'm Cash and I pull Snell, then I'm admitting to myself that I cannot give up this run. I cannot expect my offense to score one. And like literally outside of Randy, who had the best postseason ever, period.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
Right? Actually, let's run some Randy stats because who doesn't like some Randy stats? So yeah, postseason, right? A solid 377. He hit 377. His OPS is on base plus slugging, right? Slugging being a statistic that weights extra base hits more heavily. So a home run is 4, triple is 3, et cetera, et cetera. And then, so it's basically how many bases you get per hit. And then on base percentage is quite literally how often you reach base. So when you add those together, you get OPS, which is a decent metric for how good someone is. So 700, being 0.700, it's about average. 8 to 900 is good to great, and then 1,000 plus is elite. His OPS in the postseason was 1.2. That is unheard of. 1.273, so almost 1.3. That is absolutely insane, right? We're talking 29 hits, 10 home runs, 14 RBIs.
Right.
That's obscene.
Just a fantastic postseason by Randy.
It's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I don't think Randy's actually that good, right? I think it's he's on a hot streak, whatever.
He had a really good postseason.
But I can see him being good. I can see Randy being. I just don't think he's the next Barry Bonds. I don't think that's a very hot take, right? This kid had an amazing postseason. He was hot for 2-3 weeks, but I don't think he's the next Frank Thomas. Like, I don't think that's a very hot take.
I think that he got hot in these 2-3 weeks, and I think that ultimately the stage prompted that there needed to be a guy on the Rays who would step up and get hits, or
else we're facing the Astros or the Yankees.
Yeah, and Rosarena rose to the occasion, and he had a fantastic postseason. I think before the World Series, he was like 5 of 10. With he was hitting 500 with or maybe he was 5 of his 10 hits were home runs or something. Or no, he was hitting 10 of 20. Yeah,
I mean, when you consider he has 10 home runs, which I want to say is the most ever in the postseason, right? So when you have that guy, and the reason the Cardinals traded him because it looked like he didn't have power, like he looked like a 4-tool player without the power. Then the story is he got buff over the lockdown, and then now he has power to both sides of the field. I mean, hell, like Kenley Jansen, that solo shot he gave it to Rosarena, that was a fine pitch.
Yeah,
like it got a little bit too much of the plate and just poked it over the opposite field. I want to say, like, he just has power. Period. So when you have that guy right killing you, that's fine. The Rays offense was terrible. It was really bad. Like, the Rays offense was I don't think if you take the Rays offense, and a mediocre to good pitching squad, their pitching squad was incredible. Right? Yeah. Rays offense and a mediocre to good pitching core, I don't think you get out of the NL Central, let alone the AL East.
I think that with a mediocre pitching squad, you're the worst team in most divisions.
Oh, no, stop. You watch your mouth, sir. The Pittsburgh Pirates exist. They are historically bad. The Philadelphia Phillies exist. They don't even have a bullpen at all, and they were still decent, right? The Washington Nationals are coming off a World Series, win, hangover, whatnot. Like, no. There's no way the Rays are the worst team. No.
I'm not saying the worst team.
No, you said they'd be the worst team in most divisions. They would not be the worst in the NL West. No.
Okay.
The Diamondbacks were atrocious, right? Then you have the NL Central. The Pirates are the worst team in baseball. They'd
be the worst in
the NL East.
The AL East.
The NL East. Who's either way, they're better than the Marlins. I think with a mediocre pitching core, because the Marlins are kind of like the Rays, right? With bad pitching, right? Like the Marlins had a mediocre offense and mediocre pitching, but
they got on a hot streak to end the season. I think.
Yeah, the Marlins weren't very good.
Oh, the Mets. The Mets are in the NL East.
Well, the Mets they were okay. I mean, the Mets just don't have like. Actually, I'm not even really sure what the Mets' problem is. Like, it's kind of confusing.
I think
they have the best pitcher in baseball, question mark, with DeGrom, right? 3 Cy Youngs, I want to say. Dude's insane, right? So
right, the Red Sox were the worst in the AL East.
And
the Tigers in the AL Central. The Rangers in the AL West.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the National League, the worst teams were the Nationals. The Nationals were worse than the Mets.
Because, okay, remember, so the Nationals... they lost a lot of guys. They lost Rendon, right?
Oh yeah, Rendon was
I want to say
big.
Strasburg's been out for the year. It wasn't their year. Now, unfortunately, the
Pirates and the Diamondbacks.
They had to play their World Series champions narrative season with no fans, and I hope the Dodgers don't have to do that. And I want that gold jersey in front of the fans.
Yeah,
I'm really excited for the gold jersey. I'm going to earmark some cash for that.
I'm so excited for that.
Oh man, I already have my World Series champions merch.
I'm getting my shirt is coming in the mail.
Have you seen the Dos Angeles merch?
No, I haven't.
Dos Angeles, right, yeah, Dodgers Lakers combination merch. I'm gonna look into some of that because it's rare you see it. I just want to point out Los Angeles has dominated Florida this year. With the Lakers beating the Heat in 6 and the Dodgers beating the Rays in 6. LA versus Florida, it's not even close. We're
Dos Angeles 2020.
I think if the Rays, you know what? I'll pose a hypothetical for you. So now that we've seen,
ooh, okay, all right,
it's pretty clean.
Yeah,
it's pretty clean.
Yeah.
Let's make a note. Let's make a note right now. We'll pop that up on the stream just to show people because it's pretty clean. So I have a hypothetical for you. So let's say the Dodgers lose Game 5 against the Braves. Okay? Mm-hmm. Or let's say they lose Game 7, so both teams are on even rest. Braves or Rays? Who was the better team?
I mean, I said it in I don't know if I said it in the episode, the Dodgers Braves episode, or I said it to you. I think that the winner of the NLCS was winning that World Series. Ultimately, I think that the Braves just had a hotter lineup, even though, I mean, the 3 guys on the Braves that were producing in Freeman, Osuna, and was it Acuna?
No. So Acuna is probably injured, right? Acuna, he didn't look like he had much power, right? There was some hand injury bothering him. That's actually why I wanted to bring this up. I don't know if the Braves make it through the Rays.
I think that Fried would have pitched really well and won him a game. I think that
well, okay, wait, now stop. So Glasnow, right? Glasnow versus Fried. Fried wins clearly, right? Yeah. But Snell is good for 2 wins against the Braves. Now, if Ian Anderson can shut down a Rosarena, maybe, right? But I think there's a legit chance that Tampa Bay wins.
It would have been a much more evenly matched series, and I definitely think that would have gone to 7 regardless.
Like
of who
if
won.
Glass,
but I would have had the Braves. I would have had the Braves over.
Still, so okay. So here's what I'm thinking, right? Because I've seen this narrative a lot, and again, I lurk subreddit, so I've seen on the Braves subreddit them talking about how it was their year and yada yada yada. So if Anderson, I don't think Anderson Morton, my edge goes to Morton. Right? I think the Dodgers have seen a lot of Morton. Atlanta hasn't, right? Morton's fine, right?
Morton would have been you have Morton over Anderson?
Yeah. I think Morton beats him. I think Morton gets there. I really what I think happens to Anderson is a Rosarena just goes God mode again. I'm thinking maybe a walk and then a Rosarena bomb, and then you're looking at a whole different game. Right? Mike Rousseau was still good. Like their hitters are not good on the postseason level, but they can get to a pitcher, right?
Yep.
So, it's interesting. So I'm thinking if you have Rays Braves, right? Which is again, it's just a hypothetical. I don't think this is happening ever. Like I think the Rays window. I really hate to say this. So Rays window is open, but I don't think it's World Series open. right? I think the combination of things that has to happen to get them to the World Series is not happening again, right? They jump out super hard and early against a very strong Astros team, which the Astros aren't going to be back without Springer, period.
Mhm.
Right? So if they get Springer, that's one thing, but without the heart of their lineup, no, I don't even want to hear it. So you have the Rays getting through the Yankees, who are going to be better next year. I can feel it. You know, the Yankees have injury problems. They had pitching injury problems this year, which is rare for them. It seems. I don't know. The Yankees can't stay healthy. It's pretty funny. They need to fire their doctors. But so for the
Fire the
Rays,
doctors.
I'm serious. They need to fire their team doctors. That is not a joke. The Yankees need to fire their team doctors, period. Like, something is clearly wrong.
I heard what you said, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. Just the phrase "fire their doctors."
Fire their doctors. I will say
odd.
that. Like, if the Yankees went to a CVS Minute Clinic, they'd probably be a healthier team. Like, it's absurd. It's like, you know, you're thinking, oh, which version of the Yankees am I playing? Their first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh best lineup. Like, they just have. It's just always some. It's like with the Yankees, it feels like before every game, right? They have to spin a Jeopardy wheel, or no, sorry,
Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, Wheel of Fortune wheel. That's the
Wheel
no,
of
which
Injuries.
is the one? The Price of Right. The Price of Right. You spin the wheel, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they spin a Price of Right wheel, and then it's like tick 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 tick. Giancarlo Stanton, you know, out for 2 weeks. It's like the Mets, right? You know, they spin a wheel, then Yoenis Cespedes attacked by a wild boar. Like, it's just something with New York and injuries is just insane. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. Like, what is in the water, right? Is something creeping over from New Jersey? Like, it's nuts. So the Yankees, okay. Everyone talks about a healthy Yankees lineup being like the boogeyman of the AL. I don't think it exists. But I think a slightly more healthy Yankees lineup does get through the Rays in that game 5. It was a close game.
Absolutely.
You know, it was close. I think a healthier Yankees, or just maybe a slightly better constructed Yankees. They've done a great job, don't get me wrong, but maybe a slightly better Yankees roster gets through the Rays. The Braves window is wide open. I'm not sure about the Rays. I don't see it. They have their guys on returning contracts, but it took some magic. I mean, they went to 5 with the Yankees. They went to 7 with the Astros after going up 3-0. Right, and then they really could have been bounced in 4 or 5 pretty easily. Like, if
could you have imagined the hype around, or could you imagine the choke, or how the narrative changes if the Astros beat the Rays?
So here's the thing: I wanted the smoke, but I'll say now, if what happened Game 4 happened with the Astros instead of the Rays, I don't think I'd be sitting here. I think I would have gone into cardiac arrest, because that would have pained me to an unreasonable degree.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it happens next year, I'm thinking, well, screw y'all. We have an actual legitimate championship. And I don't want to hear anything about, oh, well, it's an asterisk season, so, you know, because it was short, you got to put a little star sign there. A couple problems, right? One, biggest problem, everyone started on an equal footing. Right? Mm-hmm. It's not like now the 1981 Dodgers championship, asterisk that to hell, right? If you're not familiar, the 81 was a strike shortened season, right? Uh-huh. So rather than, you know, just playing baseball and, you know, normal thing, what they did, this is just painful. If you look up the 81 Reds, it's one of the saddest Wikipedia. I'm not going to say there's probably some very sad Wikipedia articles, but it's sad. So the 81 Reds, right? 1981, rather than, again, just playing baseball, they split the season into 2 halves. And the winner of each half, so like I think it was the Astros were the best team in the National League in the first half of the season. The Dodgers were the best team in the second half of the season. I want to say the Dodgers had them beat by like half a game, maybe it was the other way around, them being the Reds. So I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but what happened was the Reds were the best team in the National League record-wise, but they came in second both times in the halves of the season, so they got bounced out of the postseason without ever playing a game. That's an asterisk. I'm sorry, right? Strikes shortened, stupid rules, whatever. This was fine. Like, you had more teams get to the postseason. It's harder. You have to play a 3-game playoff. You know, thankfully they swept. Yeah. You know, then they went through the Padres, you know, injured Padres, but Padres nonetheless, right? Then the Braves, who looked great. Then the Rays, who had great pitching. Like, asterisk what? Like, what team is gonna make the postseason, who's gonna have any impact that wasn't able to keep a 500 record. Like, everyone talks about the Nationals last year, and okay, sure, but there's no team that's injured right now, or was injured, that was going to have any impact on the postseason. Everyone says the Astros lost Verlander. Cool, but the Astros still made it and they still played. So now we're just eliminating injuries. That's a bit ridiculous, right? So I have a big problem, with that narrative of, oh yeah, totally put an asterisk. Everyone was cool without the asterisk until they got bounced. That's the key.
Exactly.
The Padres fans are crying for an asterisk right now, and they had a celebration in the streets when they made it to they made it out of the wild card. That's nuts. Like, what, you're telling me they were in the streets chanting asterisk, 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 asterisk? No, it's ridiculous. No, they had a whole party and a parade with no masks on for people who are crying. I'm going to be honest. The Turner thing, I don't want to have a public stance on it because I don't know how I feel, because I haven't seen it play out. Right. But for all the Padres fans who are crying Turner coronavirus, you might want to watch those tapes of the Padres. It wasn't a good look. But point is, they had a parade. They were losing their minds, and then now they lose to the Dodgers, and now it's asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Okay, so 2017 is sitting here clean and pretty without an asterisk, but lo and behold, now it's and even if we give an asterisk to 2017, which we should, I don't think
I think that
is
we
one
should.
here anyway. Like, this is, I'm going to say, the hardest postseason ever, with the wild card round.
I definitely say that.
With,
it was longer.
Fans playing in a non. I will say though, Arlington ended up being kind of like home field advantage, in the long run. Playing in a neutral stadium.
Dodgers just travel well in general. Dodgers fans are always there.
No. I'm saying, like, being able to be in the same park. Like, initially it was a problem. Then it ended up helping. But Arlington in the beginning was hard, right? Like, learning the ballpark, it's huge. I think the Rays had some big hits, where it's just because Mookie couldn't cover, the enormity
the ground.
Of the outfield. Yeah. I hate the narrative of I really hate the narrative of saying, oh yeah, like, it's totally an asterisk. Stupid. It's dumb. Everyone's on equal footing. Everything was the same. The rules were weird, right? But everyone played by them. And we knew from the beginning, right? Except for the Arlington thing. We didn't know about that, if I remember correctly. But cool, we found out. Dodgers were still far and away. This is probably one of the best teams of all time. Like,
yeah, definitely.
I saw people saying that they thought the 2016 Cubs were better. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. That is just nuts.
Yeah.
Like, I picked this Dodgers team against most World Series winning squads pretty clearly. And especially once they got clicking. And if they were in any other stadium, right, a lot of those games are different.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, there's no need to talk about that because they won. That's all that matters. I honestly, at the end of the day, I don't care. Someone could say, hey, Mac, guess what? The Dodgers, they have an asterisk, but our Astros don't. You know what? I'll just blow this in their face. I don't care, right? We're champions. I'm getting.
Also, please don't walk up to either of us on the street and talk about how the Astros are good. Please don't. Just don't.
I'll entertain it.
You'll get into a losing fight, and you'll probably get upset. We'll probably get upset.
That's the issue, right? They actually are good. That's the issue. But we don't need to get into that. We just won the World Series.
We did. And I'd also like to point out about the playoffs real quick. I pulled up a lot of the records, and of the teams that made the playoffs, there are two of them, or sorry, not two. There's one of them in the National League that had a record under 500, and still, that was the Brewers. And then in the American League, there was the Astros made the playoffs with a record under 500.
That was a big narrative because, they obviously were better than their record. But at what point do you not deserve to be in? So now, if the 2020 season had happened and the postseason wasn't expanded and the Astros didn't get in, the asterisk cries would kind of make sense to me.
Yeah.
But, like, what? Like, there's no team that was sitting at home in October that was going to make any impact at all. Like, in the AL, right, I think you had the Blue Jays, right, who were solid. You know,
The Blue Jays.
so
were
if they don't
solid.
get in, and you're saying, oh well, if they had a longer, sure, but they got destroyed by the Rays.
Yeah.
Right? There isn't a team where I'm looking around and I'm going, yeah, you know what, they really deserve to be in. They were looking hot, and that was a problem. Like what? Maybe the Giants, but they had their chance and they lost. Right now, the most Dodgers thing ever is having one of the best squads, period, and then losing to the Giants in the 2-game series.
No,
I would have lost my mind. But again,
I
won the World Series. We don't need to care about this.
I would have quit the podcast.
We
and I don't think it
need to
existed
care
yet.
about this. It doesn't matter. It's
Exactly.
done. Like
it's all hearsay.
We can retire that. Well, we're not going to retire the Kirk Gibson clips, but we can like stop watching the
last time the Dodgers won the World Series.
again.
Insert Kirk Gibson clip here. No, it is now the Mookie Betts clip or
the Barnes clip or now. Oh my God, the Rays are gonna see Snell getting pulled until the end of time, and I feel really, really bad for them. I really do.
Yeah,
I cannot tell you how many times I saw that picture, like any picture of Kershaw like with his head down. It's painful. So like straight up right now, if you're a Rays fan, I'm so sorry. It's really painful.
Yeah,
and it's gonna hurt, but you have a season to really be proud of. Just take it as it is.
Also, props to y'all for beating the Yankees and Astros in the same season. That's really hard. Yeah. I commend you for your efforts because, oh my God,
you made it scary.
The Yankees offense is scary. I think that the Yankees' ultimate shortcoming is their pitching just isn't. I mean, like they have Garrett Cole and they have Aroldis Chapman, but that's kind of
Tanaka was atrocious, right? I think if Tanaka's a little better, but remember the Yankees. If we're talking Yankees offense, Shane Bieber was Cy Bieber. He was sub-2 ERA, looking like a god. The Yankees just annihilated it. They put like 7 runs.
I think, yeah.
It was something
the Yankees
actually, let me pull up. We're running low
really
on time, but
good.
I need to pull this up.
Yeah.
Shane Bieber. So now, you want to clarify, Shane Bieber was great this year. He was the clear Cy Young winner in the AL. Right? He was the best, period.
Mm-hmm. Undoubtedly.
Right? He postseason 2020 ERA 13.
13.
That's pretty
13.
bad.
And what was his ERA during the regular season?
Oh, his regular season ERA? Just a nice little 1.63.
1.63. And then his postseason ERA was 13.
Yeah, his ERA was just about 8 times higher this postseason. 8.2.
Gosh.
That's kind of insane. So, anyway, point being, Rays have a lot to look forward to. The Dodgers, again, won the World Series. I'm not going to stop doing that. So we have a lot of off-season content planned. I'm really excited for it. So next week, we're going to have a bit of a long clip show, right? Just talking about Dodgers season. I can't promise it's going to be an hour long.
It might be longer.
It might be longer. I don't care. And what we're going to do, we're going to make a super cut. We'll post that. If you just want to watch that, that's fine, right? If you don't want to hear us talk and stupid hot takes and yada, yada, yada. Point being, the Dodgers won the World Series. Oh my God.
I can't believe it took 32 years.
Clayton Kershaw is not going to retire. So SB Nation, great YouTube channel, has a great series called Untitled, where they go over amazing players who retired without a championship. And I was terrified to see Kershaw in this series.
Oh, he was going to be on
the second that pops up, my heart would just drop. Barry Bonds, best hitter of all time, also best steroid user of all time, right? Didn't get one.
Yeah.
Ted Williams, right? Who some people claim to be the GOAT. We can go over, eras later. Point being, Ted Williams was good in his time.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get one. Right? I mean, Jacob deGrom might not get one. Mike Trout not looking like he's going to get one at the moment. There are some amazing players, and Clayton Kershaw is not one of those
Clayton
players.
Kershaw can scratch his name off that list. He's not going to be.
You're talking about
Untitled.
playoff Kershaw, kiss the ring, right? Man. So we got a lot of off-season content planned, some fun guests coming up, and it's gonna be cool. So signing off for I guess the last time this season, right? This was the Dodgers Wheelhouse podcast, and the hype trolley is rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling
and rolling
and rolling. Literally, it's just not going to stop rolling.
It won't stop.
I think it's somewhere outside Arizona.
The brakes are cut. I don't know what to do.
So have a good rest of your Sunday.